Alright, so I'm going to do like a two-part series of the 46 M3. I'm getting ready to sell this car, but I just wanted to do a quick video because I never did. And I feel like there's a lot of stuff on YouTube, especially with all these cars getting cheaper, that there's a lot of misinformation out there with these cars. So this is my 2001 Laguna Seca M3. It has 173,000 miles currently on its second engine, and we'll get into that in just a second. But yeah, there's a lot of things on YouTube, like 10 best things, best car ever made, yada yada yada, and there's just a lot of stuff that's misleading. So we'll get into it, but yeah, these cars are super capable cars for track duty, for daily use. I mean, they look good. They had they have wider rear arches than the factory 3 Series of the time. There a lot of people will say that they I have 333 horsepower, blah yada yada. That's not true at all. US cars dyno wheel horsepower, it's like 260, 270 something. So yeah, they're not terribly fast, but they are amazing, have an amazing chassis, other than the subframe, which you'll hear about if you ever look up these cars. These cars suffer from rear subframes cracking at the mounting points, but you can get a mounting kit to help that out. It's either a weld-in or a glue kit that you can have installed, roughly like $1,100 to $1,800 to have that done. Most shops can do it for you. But yeah, all the E46 M3s suffer from it. All E46s, I think, suffer from it. So it's something you need to do. This car currently has it. So yeah, so these cars, again, super capable. I'll just pop the hood real quick, and we'll get into it, because this is going to be more of like what's done to the car than going into 10 things I hate about, yada yada yada. So E46 01, I have Bimmerworld TEAL 18x10 plus 25 offset front and rear, so square setup, 265 35 18. I have Performance Friction direct drive rotors, so that's a V1. So it's got these little, I don't know if you can see or not, let me try and focus on that, but so it's got all these like little studs on it. So that's how you took the rotor apart. You take the friction side off of the hub itself, and you can just buy just the friction. It's supposed to help out with running cost of a track car. Again, I used to work for a race team, and that's like pretty much how I build all my cars. It's just like what I knew, and that's how I learned to work on BMWs. So all like this thing and my E30 all got essentially parts that aren't really great for the street, but whatever, they're fun to put on, and it's been fun to do. So this is a V2 rotor, and the V2 doesn't have the studs on it. It has a circlip that you pull, and you can quickly pull the friction disc off. It's a pretty cool idea, and crazy that's held in with a circlip. So calipers are Porsche 996, Carrera, the Cayman, and the Boxster both use it. And then the forums and stuff will say you need to machine the actual face of it so it sits farther in. If you have the direct drive rotors, you actually don't need to modify that at all. You need to modify the back of the pad, because the pad sits too far out. So that's just something to think about. And then the rear is just a straight bolt on. Again, the front size rotor, you have to use a CSL or ZHP rotor. And then the rear is just a factory size rotor. Again, I apologize for the low light. We're running out of light quickly here. These cars came factory with that, with this style. This used to be like a kind of a racer thing to do on Hondas and stuff, but the E46 came with it from the factory, so whatever. So I have a Bimmerworld CSL box. It is a smaller snout because I have factory internals. They make a big, massive one that basically just stops here, and it's just one big ass hole. That's for if you have cams, or yeah, pretty much you have cams. Epic Motorsports did my tune. It has an Alpha N tune because it doesn't use a mass airflow meter anymore. It uses an air temp sensor, so you have to obviously do Alpha N. You do Alpha N if you do any sort of setup where you get rid of your mass airflow meter, whether it's a trumpet, which you've seen out, I think CA tuned, or I don't know, whatever. It's all over Instagram. Those guys have the just the trumpets sitting in here. There are trumpets inside here. They're just inside the box. The box is 2-piece. So you undo all these bolts, and there's a panel filter in here that you pull out. So it's kind of cool. Mishimoto Rad Hoses. You can kind of see the Evo Sport water pulley right there. But anyways, Evo Sport underdrive pulleys, status group, valve cover, and Dynan's strut bar. Doesn't really do much, but whatever bracing you can get on these cars is great. I have an Egr Delete with the catless headers, which you cannot see. Anyways, they're down there. Ceramic catless headers are down in there. This is definitely one mod you need to do, is some sort of header, because these cars wake up whenever you do headers on them. So get rid of your cats. If you want more power, you got to get rid of your cats and do a stepped header, because these cars react really good to stepped headers, whether it be Super Sprint, Active Auto Work, Epic, anything that's a stepped header. This car dyno is at 317-ish and 260 something when I went to the dyno, and I'm limited by my headers at this point. So excuse me, with headers you can do 340, 345, 350. 350 is about the max number on NA builds on these cars. So yeah, so these cars suffer from rod bearing issues. They've had a recall where BMW would put new rod bearings in the car. That was back in like 01. And then there's stuff on the forums and whatever. If you have an 03, 04 that you didn't need to do it, which is just crap. All S engines, whether it be S54, not the S52 and S50s that are in the E46s, and anything below that didn't have the issue per se like these do. Like these will blow up and have blown up. I'm on my second engine. Mine did blow up, even though it had the recall done. Another misconception is if you do rod bearing recall, you're done. You don't ever have to do it again. That's not true. You have to do it pretty much every 50,000 miles, and you should be taking oil samples. I would suggest doing oil samples just so you know what's going on. You should change your oil every 3,000, no more than 5,000 miles. I use Redline oil. And yeah, so again, just because you do rod bearing in the car, it's not good to go. So that's one of those things that add to the running costs of these cars. They're not cheap to work on. Fortunately, I can work on my own cars, but if I couldn't, I probably wouldn't own these. But because I know how to work on these cars, that's why I can have them. So aero bits are, this rear diffuser goes all the way underneath the car, and you can kind of see right there is a CSL piece. It's carbon and then color matched this winglet, and then I have some like little bedazzled jewelry right there, which is just for show car stuff that I was doing. It's a flat bottom all the way underneath there, all the way to the differential. This is made by AGT Styling out of Cypress, the country, not the city in Texas. And then this side skirt piece is made by AGT. It's just a side skirt diffuser. And then this front piece is made by Status Group Tuning. And AGT can make you about anything you want, or what they call carbon, what does he call it? I don't know, he has some word for it, but anyways, it's just laying real carbon on whatever the piece is, and then thus it's just, skimmed. So he skims things in carbon as well. I did that to the rear. You can't see crap, but it's back here. There's a piece that goes all the way across that's carbon as well. You can check it out on other videos I have. I have Agency Power titanium rear muffler. I have a Rogue 3-inch X-pipe, a stock resonator, and then Bimworld ceramic coated headers. And then I have a JB lightweight billet flywheel, clutch messers clutch, Bimworld shifter in the car. And again, all that stuff just comes from things I know that worked and things I saw and installed on other cars, track cars. So it's not really the most, ideal setup, but I mean, these things are crazy. CAE shifters make something sort of like it, and a lot of people have ripped this off to have to make their own, but I think Bimworld was one of the first people to do a spherical shifter. other than CAE. And CAE is just a little bit different animal, but that's a ton of money, and that thing's, you have to chew up your dash with it. Yeah, so I can't really think of anything else that's on the car. I've done all the bushings in this car with either OEM, mainly in the back. The spherical bearings are OEM stuff. The fronts are a treehouse style Delrin bushing. You can do power flex, and then but yeah, these cars are super capable on track. All they need is brake fluid, brake pads, and even in stock suspension with, like, if it has low mileage, that's like a dominant HPDE car. If it you know, anything other than that, you're kind of getting into where it gets uncomfortable on the street. You can do suspension on these cars. There's a ton of aftermarket support with these. You know, whether it was with OEM stuff, or they still make a ton of stuff OEM. It's aftermarket's crazy. eBay's littered with junk. Don't buy anything for these cars from eBay. It fits like crap. It's gonna break. And then the other thing is just figure out what you want to do with a car. Is it a track car? Is it a street car? Because track stuff, while it looks cool, track stuff doesn't work on the street. It makes for a terrible street car, and it's usually going to break because it was never meant to, like, blast through potholes. And the time cycle, like where things time out, you know, a bearing times out at X amount of time or mileage, is not feasible to do with a street car. And same thing with the street car versus track car. You know, using street stuff on the track is okay, but if you get to the point where you're fast enough, you'll start over exceeding the limits of whatever the street part is, whether it's brake fluid or brake pads or even tires, or suspension. So as you get better as a driver, you're going to need to start bringing the car up to your level. But again, like brake pads, brake fluid, you're probably not going to exceed the car. I do it because I like the mechanical aspects of these cars, so I just like to build them. So yeah, so there's going to be a part 2 that goes more into like the inside or the interior, but I just want to do a quick little blurb about the E46 M3. So if you like it, let me know. If you want to see more, let me know. Otherwise, just press the like button and look for the second video.